I'm not stupid, but I worked a minimum wage job for over 2 years, and it taught me a lot. In today's video, I'll be discussing the time in my life when I worked for pretty much minimum wage, despite being academically smart, and how I went from loving to hating the job. More importantly, I'll share the lessons it taught me that still impact how I think and act today. Before we start, if you've worked a minimum wage job, what did it teach you? Let me know in the comments. Let's rewind to when I got the job. After a period of self-employment following COVID, I needed a stable income. I applied for several low-end roles: admin, customer service, delivery driver jobs. I wasn't chasing a big paycheck, just consistency and a role where I wasn't micromanaged. In November 2021, I got a call back from one of the delivery driver jobs I had applied for. No formal interview, just a few questions, and the job was mine. Looking back, not having an interview should have been a red flag, but I was excited. They called on Friday, I started Monday. That Monday, snow and ice covered the roads. I was tempted to give it a miss, but it was my first day. Being a no-show wouldn't look great, especially for a driving job. Luckily, the main roads were clear, and I made it in. Training was quick. A couple of days in a classroom, a day delivering with another new starter, and by day 4 I was solo delivering to customers, albeit on shorter routes. At first it was great. I was alone, listening to music, driving around new places, plus I was finishing 2 or sometimes even 3 hours early, going home and still getting paid. But then came the full routes and the dreaded turnarounds. After training, we were put on 10-hour shifts, 4 days a week, while only getting 1 full weekend off a month. These 4 days will be random every week, and every couple of weeks you'd switch from early shifts, where I had to get up at 4:15 AM, to late shifts where I wouldn't finish until nearly midnight. But the worst thing was turnarounds. A turnaround is when you finish 1 full van, only to be given another full load and sent back out. My first one came with no warning. I thought I was done by 11 AM, my earliest finish yet. Having just delivered 800 kilograms of shopping, I waited for my van to be checked in. Before long, someone came over, but what I didn't expect was them to tell me to go around the back. Once there, my van was loaded with another 800 kilograms of shopping. That day taught me my first major lesson. Don't waste time complaining, just get on with it. I could have sat around sulking for the next half an hour, but it wouldn't have changed anything. If you've got something unpleasant to do, the longer you delay it, the longer it is going to be bothering you. Complaining doesn't move you forward. It just wastes energy and time. Think about it. If you have a 5-hour task and you spend 1 hour complaining about it, that task has now taken you 6 hours, and what did you gain with that extra hour? Oftentimes in this job, you would come back from your first route, check the departure board, and find your second route has double the weight as your colleagues. It was easy to sit and complain to colleagues. Look how bad my route is. I always get the bad routes, but I was just delaying the inevitable, and it never made me feel any better. If anything, it made me more angry about the situation, and if I'd just got on with it in the first place, it usually wasn't as bad as I thought it would have been. By no means am I perfect. I love a good complaint as much as the next person, but it's something I definitely tried to do less of now. Not every customer is worth having. The first 9 months of this job flew by. I was seeing a lot of new places, sometimes travelling as far as 200 miles in a day. I delivered to around 40 customers a day, 4 days a week, and it was rare to deliver to the same person twice. As you can imagine, when meeting that many customers, you see the good, the bad, and the just straight up weird. But it was a certain type of customer that taught me a valuable lesson in business. These particular customers were clearly abusing the system, unpacking every item, demanding refunds for tiny imperfections, and claiming money for bags they didn't return. For context, you had the option to return your carrier bags and be refunded 10p per bag, but some people would hand you a bundle of bags and claim that they had given you 50. After a quick count, sometimes there weren't even 10. That means they were fraudulently claiming £4. It doesn't sound like much, but let's say across the company, 100 customers a day do that. That's £400 lost every day, and over a year, well in excess of £100,000. These weren't just difficult people, they were costing the company thousands, on top of taking up more time than the average customer. It taught me that in any business, there are bad clients who drain your time, energy, and money. Value and spend time nurturing your good clients instead of wasting time on bad clients. Not all income is worth the stress. Obviously, this company was operating on a huge scale, and with that, you are always going to have some bad customers. But sure, surely there was a way to deal with this issue, which brings me on to my next point. Communication is essential. For a business to run effectively, it takes a collective effort from everyone, and it's important to communicate across different levels in the company. Sometimes a lower level staff member might have an invaluable input that no one else up above has noticed when looking at the operations on a macro level. For example, drivers knew people claiming extra bags was a big issue, along with people creating multiple new accounts to claim a 30% off introductory offer several times. These issues may not be easily trackable, or they just weren't on the radar of people higher up, but a quick conversation with drivers and every person would tell you they experience these day in, day out. But for some reason, the company either didn't want to know or didn't care about these issues. The lack of communication wasn't just causing missed opportunities to save money. It was actively creating new problems. Rules often change without warning or input from those on the ground doing the actual job. For example, a rule was introduced which meant we weren't allowed to deliver early before 9 AM, even if the customer wanted it. Some customers had actually written on their notes that they are happy for an early delivery, but the new rule ignored that and took priority. This was in response to a minority of customers complaining about having early deliveries because it woke them up. More often than not, even the people who didn't specify they were happy for an early delivery would be happy when they received an early delivery, but because of the loud minority, a blanket rule was introduced. On one occasion, I got told off for delivering to a nursery 10 minutes early. How you can wake someone up who's at work in a nursery is a mystery to me. The problem wasn't early deliveries. It was certain customers not liking them, but instead of solving the actual issue, management introduced a one-size-fits-all rule. The result? Not being able to deliver early led to no spare time for unexpected delays, which in turn caused cancelled deliveries, and ultimately, unhappy customers, all while demotivating the staff. The prospect of finishing early, one of the main perks of the job, had now become a lot harder, making an unhappy workforce even more annoyed. Surely, a checkbox when you order, asking if you're happy for an early delivery, would have solved all of this. Try to tell your manager this, and they have no more power than you. They had to discipline you for breaking these rules that they didn't even believe in themselves. If they didn't, they would face disciplinary action from the people up above them. All of it could have been avoided with better communication and respect between the different levels. You're just a number in unskilled jobs. Due to this early delivery rule, some drivers were sacked, even after 10 years of loyal service. There was no Christmas party, and you received a tiny £50 bonus for working unsociable and longer hours than usual over Christmas. Get ill for one day, say goodbye to your £50 bonus. This job really hammered home that in some large corporations, especially when at the bottom, no matter how hard you work, you're replaceable. It's a brutal but valuable reality check. As the cost of living surged, wages were not keeping up. Not only that, but every time they increased the base pay, they would take away something else, from reducing overtime from 1.5 pay to 1.25 pay, or reducing Sunday rates. If the company ever gave you something with one hand, expect them to take something from you with the other. I used to feel unappreciated in my previous jobs, but working here made me realise that actually I maybe didn't have it as bad as I thought. It taught me that things that I thought were just a basic expectation from a company aren't always guaranteed. It's not how much you earn, it's how much you save. Despite the low pay, I was able to save around £30,000 during my time working there. How, you may ask? By living frugally. Living at home definitely helps, but so did my mindset. When you know you're on a low wage, you are more conscious of spending. Is going out drinking with your friends really necessary? If you do go out, why not have a few drinks at home before you go out and save on the extortionate prices charged in pubs and clubs? If I'd started out on a high wage, I wouldn't have had to worry about money as much as I did. To be honest, I think I would have indulged in a lifestyle of luxurious items and short-term pleasure. This job, along with previous other low-wage jobs, taught me to build good financial habits early, and those habits will benefit me for life. To put it into perspective, if I had to estimate, I would say I saved around 80% of my salary. This then gave me the freedom to take time out of work and live off my savings for the past year. Working in a customer-facing role builds empathy. In day-to-day life, it's easy to forget that the shop worker, delivery driver, or call centre worker is a human, just like you and me. You never know what kind of day they're having, and you being rude to them could turn their day from bad to worse. In contrast, a bit of kindness goes a long way. How customers treat me was sometimes the difference between a good or a bad day. Often, if something goes wrong, it's natural to want to complain and shout at the person who is in front of you, but it may not even be their fault. These people are just trying to do their job and earn an honest living. Mistakes sometimes do happen, but how does shouting at them make anyone's life better? I now make sure I'm extra polite to workers and make a conscious effort to smile. Of course, I already knew all this, but experiencing it from the other side reinforced the importance of common courtesy. I genuinely think everyone should work a low-paid, hands-on job at least once in their life, even if it's just for a few months. It builds resilience, empathy, financial discipline, and it gives you perspective. You learn how hard some people work for very little. It makes you appreciate the small things and builds character that's hard to develop anywhere else. Look at the politicians, for example. Many have never worked a low-paid job, and it definitely shows. And who knows, maybe you'll even enjoy it. There's value in a low-stress life if you can make it work. You could work a low-pay, low-stress job that gives you the mental bandwidth and time to try to build your own business outside of work. Not every successful life looks the same. What matters is learning from where you've been and using that experience to build something better and improve yourself. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and drop a sub, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.